What other areas of consumer or social are you either paying attention to or excited about that you think people should be aware of?
The two biggest areas I think are really fascinating in social right now are calendaring and offline meetups. And those are kind of connected. And so specifically, there's a few companies like one's called Saturn, which is a calendar designed for teenagers, and another is called IRL, which I just wrote about today. And IRL is an event discovery platform and calendar, which makes it easy to figure out what's going on around you, set up plans to do it with the friends, or come up with a new plan like, hey, let's have a Netflix watching party, and then set a soon date, and then figure it out with your friends in an in-app chat. You know, it's trying to make the calendar social in a way that it hasn't been before. Well, Saturn is for high school students and helps them share their classes and class notes. And it's basically becoming kind of a professional LinkedIn-esque tool, but for high schoolers. And I think both of those are really fascinating. And IRL actually, you know, it was about in real life. Today it pivoted to be in remote life because we can't really go to any events. It's like, imagine being a startup where you just help people discover real world events and then it becomes illegal to go to real world events. Like that is a death knell for most startups, but they were smart to really quickly adapt to the change, lean into it, and pivot to being all about discovering live streams of concerts, educational classes, esports tournaments, and stuff like that. So I think that's really fascinating.
Yeah, is the idea that a lot of these are going to just basically take the social components that we know exist on other platforms and just overlay that on the actual calendar? Is that the general premise?
Yeah, that's part of it. It's about taking what is really too deeply bundled into Facebook and that Facebook has largely ignored and make it into something, a standalone product that's really, really high utility and really simple. And so, yeah, with IRL, whether it's about getting you to be able to watch a live stream with friends or actually meet up at a coffee shop or go to the park together, it's trying to figure out an offline availability indicator. That's something that we don't have. You have a green dot on all your chat apps that let people know when you're on the chat app, but you don't have a green dot to say, hey, I'm just home by myself doing nothing right now. I'd love to get dinner, or I'd love to do a workout together, or I'd love to co-watch something on Netflix. And I think that that's a really massive area for innovation, which can make us a lot less lonely. I think a lot of us, if any of you had this college experience where, your doors were always open in the dorm and you could just walk around and see what other people were up to and spontaneously make plans. As we grow into adults, we put all these walls and doors between us, and it suddenly becomes a lot tougher to have a spontaneous social interaction. And it can feel really awkward and kind of depressing if you reach out directly to a bunch of friends. Hey, what are you doing tonight? You want to hang out? You want to go get dinner? You want to watch a movie or something? And nobody responds, or everyone's like, oh no, I'm busy, I've got plans. It's really discouraging. And so these apps need to figure out a way to make that more passive. Show my friend that, oh, it looks like Josh is free, so that they could reach out to me if they wanted, rather than me having to do that work and expend my social capital and feel awkward when I get rejected.
Yeah, it's super interesting. It's like every couple I know, they all manage their joint life together via the G calendar, right? It's just like, hey, look, we've got a shared calendar. I can see what you've got going on. You can see what I've got going on. And so being able to bring that to a wider audience than just a kind of a party of two, I think makes a lot of sense. But it also overlays with what you said, kind of the second component of just offline events in general. What's kind of the thesis there, or what has you excited about that?
I'm just excited about the idea that, we spend so much of our time staring at a screen. And most of these apps, they monetize by getting you to stare even deeper into that screen. And I think the next wave of social apps, Zenly, which is in a product that was acquired by Snapchat, Snapchat's own Snap Map, things like IRL, the real opportunity is to say, get people offline, get them to have real interactions together in person. Those are the things we remember. Those are the memories that we cherish. And if you want to add value to someone's life, I think that's the easiest way to do it. But if you can't meet up offline, there's a whole new wave of apps that are helping people hang out online, and that's around screen sharing. So specifically, there's an app called Squad, which is blowing up right now. I think it's at like number 15 on the App Store charts. All of a sudden, it's rocketing up the charts after launching last year. And basically, it just lets a few people screen share together. So one person can be scrolling Instagram while the other people comment, or you can be debating a Tinder profile and saying, oh, should I swipe right or swipe left? And it basically creates the same kind of experience that many of us had growing up, hanging out in parking lots and basements, where you weren't really doing doing anything. You weren't like going to a place, spending money, doing a planned event. You're just co-hanging out. And we haven't had a corollary for that online. And now we finally have one, which is this screen sharing. You don't have to be in the same room to basically just be hanging out. And you don't even have to be actively talking. I think that what we had was this big wave of live streaming. But most people don't want to be the center of attention on camera for a sustained period of time, nor do they have enough to say or do or to show off to actually be entertaining. And so things like House Party made it easier for people to so that it's more about group video chat. Nobody's the center of attention. Everyone's just chatting at once. But screen sharing takes it to the next level where nobody even has to be on camera. You could both just be sharing your screens, not looking at each other's faces, but laughing and joking around together and occasionally talking. And, Fortnite has similarly created a role for that for young men. And I think apps like Squad, which has a female CEO, an amazing woman named Esther Crawford, has an opportunity to do that more for young women as well as everybody.
Yeah, it's really interesting, actually, the live streaming component. If you look at many of the largest live streamers, they're things like gamers, et cetera. And basically what they would do is exactly what you're talking about. So whereas most people would try to use live streaming for shorter periods of time and like, hey, let me entertain you. These folks who in the gaming industry would just log in, they'd be on for 8 to 10 hours, they'd play video games and just like passively hang out with whoever was there and kind of talk and all of those things that you would do in like the basement, years ago. They actually ended up being some of the best live streamers and built the biggest audiences, et cetera. And so it's unique how maybe the people who are the best at using these tools actually use it in a different way than kind of the majority of folks who got boxed into thinking like this is just like a short TV screen almost.
And I actually think this is really important for mental health. I don't know about you. Did you ever spend long periods of time on the phone with your male friends growing up?
Never.
I didn't either. But now suddenly boys can sit together on Fortnite for hours just chatting about their life because they have the plausible distraction of, oh, we're shooting people. So this is clearly manly. There's no affront to my own masculinity. They can feel comfortable. And, I think that's really productive because a lot of young men have a lot of feelings they need to get out and they don't have other outlets for them. And so creating a channel where they can talk about it without having to be like, hey, buddy, I need to have like a really hard conversation with you, which might be a bit daunting. Instead, it could just be like, hey, we've been playing Fortnite for an hour. And I was like, hey man, this girl actually broke my heart. Like, what do you think I should do? Like, that's the kind of conversation that I think we all need to have more of. We need to have more of those vulnerable, real conversations with our close friends. And any product, whether that's a game like Fortnite, whether that's a screen sharing app like Squad, or whether it's getting people together offline, like an app like IRL, that is a great thing for destroying loneliness, making people happier, making people feel less isolated. And that's critical, especially now.